how do you help people uncover who they are? And once they uncover who they are, what does that mean for them? Do they have a forward path that they can now marry and go, okay, that's my box, I got to run towards it? Or what does that look like?
So there's a really fun experiment or fun exercise that we do at CIA early on. And we'll do it right now for everybody listening and everybody watching. So imagine that you're given $5,000 to take a vacation, right? Just giving it to you, $5,000, take a vacation. Once you're given that information, there are really only 4 next steps that anybody will take. And in those 4 next steps, you identify what's known as a personality's individual temperament, right? Temperament. 4 different temperaments will respond 4 different ways to this opportunity. The opportunity being $5,000 to go on vacation. The first temperament is somebody known as a bear. A bear is a person who hears that opportunity and the first thing they think of is, who am I going to take on this vacation? Am I going to take my wife? Am I going to take my kids? That's the first thing they think of is who's coming with me? I have $5,000. I have a free vacation. I got to take somebody with me. And what do they want? Do they want to go to Rome? Do they want to go to Paris? Do they just want a staycation? That's a bear, first temperament.
Why do you call it a bear?
That's just what CIA and the Myers-Briggs.
A bear hug? Like you're trying to take people with you? Like what?
They're all 4 animals. And what's interesting is they're kind of all 4 predators too. But the bear response, the bear temperament is this, who's coming with me? The fox temperament is to come up with ideas. All the ideas of what you could do with $5,000 on vacation. I could do this. I could do that. I could go to 2 places. I could take a cruise to a new place and then spend another 5 days in the new place. I could go to a 3rd world country and take that money and make it last 3 times as long. I could go to a 1st world city and blow it all in 2 days.
Yes.
Right. But they have all the ideas.
I could blow it in 1 meal, bro. Let's go.
That's your fox.
Okay.
The next temperament is a lion. A lion takes and organizes the options that are available based on the constraints. I have $5,000. I have a vacation. So let's start making a list of places, costs, time of year, cities, outside villages of cities, famous historical monuments, and they put it all into a big organized grid. No decisions, but they make a grid, right? And then your last person is your cheetah. Your cheetah is the person who just takes action. $5,000, I'll take it, and I'm buying a plane ticket right away. And I'm buying a plane ticket for wherever the next plane is going, and I'll figure it out from there.
I'm either a cheetah or I'm predominantly a cheetah with a little bit of a bear.
Without having those 4 temperaments, we wouldn't even have a vocabulary for how to describe ourselves to each other, right? We would probably assume that we would handle it the same way. I am a fox exclusively. So when you tell me that there's an opportunity, it's all ideas. How do I want to use it? How could I use it? And I can get lost in my ideas. Just like a bear can end up on a vacation they don't want to be on because they did what their wife wants to do.
Okay, that ain't me. I'm like, I tell people, this is where we're going. Do you want to come with me?
There you go.
That's basically it. So maybe I'm a cheetah.
That sounds like a cheetah.
With a little bit more of a fox. I'm definitely not a bear of like, I'm never finding myself in a place I don't want to be.
There you go.
But I can see that from a buyer's perspective, like buyers in my world, audience, let's say my lending company, right? You have people that go, all right, I have money to go and help infuse into your fix and flip or infuse in your rental or whatever. And we lend money. It's one of my products that we sell, obviously. And I will see people that will go, okay, well, let me go talk to my wife. I got to bring them along. I got to convince them to come along for decision maker, right? Then there's other people that go, oh, you're going to give me access to money? Let me plan out all the things I can do with this money. Yep. Then there's people like, you gave me money? I'm buying a deal tomorrow. I'm in. Okay, interesting. So interesting. And so how does this show up for people in your world?
It shows up in lots of different ways. But the main point that I'm trying to communicate here is we were just talking about how Everyday Spy, how we as a company systematize people being able to understand themselves. Mm-hmm. That was just a simple version that's not based on a test or a quiz or any kind of empirical research. That's really just we heard an example and already we can start to identify how we ourselves are wired. What I love about you is you're already thinking about how can I use this for everybody else? Now that I know the whole population breaks into 4 temperaments, how can I use that to make money? And hopefully that's what a lot of people listening right now are thinking too. In my company, that's the same thing I do. I know what the first step has to look like for a bear, a cheetah, a lion, or a fox. I know what the first step looks like. So when people come into my free front-end lead generator.
This is where I'm screwing up, my friend. I need this. I need that next piece, like in some of my businesses, right? I've created 26 avatars, not simple at all. I've found 26 avatars. I think that's too confusing. I think distilling that down to those 4 and then going, what's the next step for these people? I need this. So keep going.
So you find out, you find a way to identify the temperament in them. And that's part of what my whole free squeeze is. It's a quiz that people take. The quiz is based on a psychological exam that we leveraged at CIA. So when they finish these 12 questions, I already know what their temperament is. And then based on their temperament, I give them an offer custom tailored to their temperament, which then increases the conversion rate of the offer, which is the first stepping point to them continuing to invest. And then depending on whether they take the offer or not, I have a follow-up sequence that tests whether or not the original theory that we thought is true, or did they throw the quiz? Were they answering because they were embarrassed to be true? So instead they answered what they thought was true. So we have this way of kind of double checking, pressure testing the result. And then if nothing works, then we stop spending time marketing to that person because they're obviously not ready. If they went through the exam and weren't honest in the exam, they're so distrusting, or they lack so much self-awareness that they can't even come in as their true authentic self. So how are we ever going to help that person? So we have to cut that person out.
Yeah, it's a very simple version of that is I have a free Facebook group, a couple 100,000 members in it. And there's people, we ask for your email, we ask for a couple of basic pieces of information. And if they don't give us their email, we don't let them in. Mm-hmm. And then people DM me, go, you didn't let me in your Facebook group. You wouldn't give me your email. Oh yeah, I'm not giving you my email.
Yeah.
Then why would I let you in my freaking Facebook group? Like, you're not ready. Obviously, you don't trust me enough to let me communicate with you. So if I can't communicate with you, why would I continue to work with you?
And how am I going to protect the people in the group?
100%.
From you. If you're so untrusting that you're not going to give an email, what are you going to do to them when you get in here?
This is part of building community, private community that is so important that a lot of people don't understand. I have the largest real estate community in the world by a 10x margin. And people get pissed off that I've treated it like a country club. And it's my job to protect the inside people from the outside people that don't want to actually do the things to, work with those people. And it could be answering simple questions. It could be lying. You're like, you're obviously not a good fit. Because again, best type of customer is a customer who's already paid you. Mm-hmm. I want to protect those people in my community from those people who've never paid me, because these people are obviously ready to move forward, right, in their lives. So you guys will kind of pull those people out. You identify up front. So what do you guys have booked calls? Like how do you?
It's all automated.
All automated.
For us, everything is automated. Everything is self-service. That part of my scaling challenge is getting to a place where I can scale a sales team to be able to do what we do over the phone with consistent results. That's CEO visionary stuff that I have to deal with.
That's your next step.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
But where we are now with the automated process,
CIA believes that all people are born with a spy secret superpower. For some people, that means they can win deals. For others, they can spot liars. Some can even seduce lovers. I built a free 3-minute test to help reveal to you exactly what your secret hidden superpower is. All you have to do is click on the link in the description below, take the test, and start using your spy superpower to stay ahead of 99% of people.
I mean, we are a lead generating machine with self-liquidating offers that come in like every hour. It's a blast to watch it all play out because it's really just math at work.
Of course.
It's systems at work, and it's so much fun to watch systems.
Well, what's fun is that you have a product and a service that everybody on the planet really actually needs. Like whether they're going to jump into real estate or finance, or they're going to start a business, or hell, I just want to be really good at the job I'm in, the company I work for that I love, and I want to be a vested partner at some point. Your product of helping them identify who they are and how to improve what that thing is what everybody foundationally needs. Do you find that people come into your community and they're surprised by the results of what they've just recently found? Like, oh, this is who I am. I've been fighting against the grain the entire time.
Yeah, that you've just nailed it. That's what a solid 80% of the people who come in and really do the work, they realize that they've been fighting against their own superpower. They've been fighting against the thing that makes them stand out. They've been fighting against the thing that is their competitive advantage. And they've been trying to fit into something else that was never going to work. Let me just give you a quick story. When my wife and I left CIA, my wife was also former CIA with me.
You met her in there?
We met at CIA. We had our first child undercover, and it was
bro. Is this like a romance novel being written right now? I had my first child undercover. Like, dude, this
does
is
sound like a good romance novel. I hadn't
hell
thought about
yes.
that.
With your long hair, you're on the front cover, like shirtless.
You're going to have to definitely airbrush my pecs a little bit.
This is great.
But my point is, we learned within my son's first year of life that CIA had no interest in supporting us as parents. They wanted us to be operators first, and they didn't give a shit about our kids. That was the opposite of what we wanted. I grew up in a household, like we were talking about earlier, where I as a child wasn't valued. So the last thing I was going to do was not value my children. So we made the decision to leave CIA. CIA didn't have a process for people leaving. It certainly didn't have a process for young, successful middle managers to leave. Because at that point, my wife and I had already had 2 massive operational breakthroughs. We had kind of changed the face of CIA, and they wanted us climbing the corporate ladder. We were like, we're going to go raise a family. They didn't know how to process that. So they had to put us in this weird space where we weren't employed. We were allowed to resign, but they didn't roll back our cover, meaning we didn't have a real resume. We had this gap of 7 years on our resume where nobody really knew what we did. Something was there, but there was nobody that was going to pick up the phone. There was no real reference. There was no history of employment. There was nothing verifiable. So for 6 months, we lived in my in-laws' converted garage in Florida, trying to get a job according to the box that society gave us. LinkedIn and Indeed and filling out applications and putting a lot of work into writing good cover letters and like all that shit. And it was turning into no job offers, no employment for a really good fucking reason. Because you're not supposed to hire somebody who can't verify their last 7 years of employment. When someone doesn't pick up the phone and there are no references to call, there's a reason for that. Or when you call a reference and there's nobody.
Yeah, they're full of shit.
Exactly. So I can completely understand why nobody would hire us. So 6 months in a converted garage, sweating our ass off in Florida summer with a 1-year-old in a playpen. I was like, this isn't going to fucking work. We have to cheat the system. And CIA taught us how to cheat the system, but we've been forcing ourselves to live in this other box. What if we just take what CIA taught us about living a life undercover, like lying your way into a job, fraudulently creating a resume, faking it until you make it, and then using learning techniques to learn quickly on the job? What if we just did that and got a job and then figured it out from there? And my wife was like, it can't be any worse. So we put ourselves together. She found an executive. She studied the executive. She built a dossier on the executive. I approached and bumped the executive, and we manipulated a scenario where the executive was like, I could use a guy like you on my team. And then before we knew it, boom, I was hired. $80,000, 100% remote in Florida. As soon as I was hired with the executive's grace, I went to the HR person. I was like, you know who else you want to hire as my wife? Boom, a week later, my wife's hired. $80,000, 100% remote, fully from Florida. We have a combined income of $160,000 in Florida in 2014.
Oh, yeah.
We buy a house for $200K, and now life is gravy. And that's just the beginning of what turned into 4 or 5 years of incredible corporate success before it dawned on us that we were like, if we can actually do this ourselves, we put this into a program, we can do this for thousands of people. And that's how Everyday Spy was born.
Who do you feel like Everyday Spy is for at its foundation?
At its foundation, Everyday Spy is for the person who is trying to have that financial breakthrough. But that financial breakthrough is different for everybody.
Is this a 9-to-5 person?
I'm thinking it's a 9-to-5 person. The people that we touch the most, that we really love to touch, are the people who are making the leap from $35,000, $45,000 a year, working their ass off, or the person getting paid $75,000 a year to work, 3,000 hours a year. That person has a chance to become an entrepreneur. That person has the chance to get a better job. That person has a chance to become the boss. And our lessons apply to the corporate mindset so easily that it's not a big stretch for them. Then we have the people who are multi-million-dollar business owners, $2 to $5 million business owners annually. Those are the next people that we target because we can have the biggest impact on them, and we don't have to teach all the corporate lessons.
Right.
We just have to teach the mindset and the psychology. This group, the group of 9-to-5ers, psychology is a little bit beyond their reach, but simple systems is fair. The person who's already running a multi-million-dollar business already has simple systems. What that person needs is psychological breakthroughs.
Are you doing any challenges or webinars?
We have challenges. We have both. My webinars are few and far between because what I find is that my front end webinars, while valuable. I'm just lazy. That's the real reason I don't do webinars. Is
Oh, I
because,
love the honesty.
because I'm like, they make money. They're super easy. They're super fast. It's just not what gives me a thrill. What gives me a thrill is watching the scoreboard on my wall just naturally increase with lead gen that's all self-automated. And then going and meeting with clients.
You do challenges.
We do challenges. And our challenges, by and large, are actually physical first, because we can show people physical breakthroughs using our systems.
How do I be a part of that?
So if you look up Everyday Spy, Spy Fit, then you'll find that there's a Spy Fit challenge that pops up every 6 weeks. You can get on a wait list. You can join us. Right now, we have a Spy Fit that launches on Thursday of this week. And that Spy Fit challenge is a challenge that brings people into how spies physically train. And it's like 6 weeks long. Our challenge right now is a muscle builder challenge. We have a weight loss challenge. We have a mental health challenge. And we literally transform people's lives in the first 14 days. But then they just sit with us for the next 6 weeks.
For accountability.
For accountability and to see how far they can go in 6 weeks. If you've seen how far you can go in 2 weeks.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
You give people evidence, they won't stop.
That's exactly what we found.
Right? I think that's where a lot of people that are stuck in their life, the only evidence they have is that they can't do it. And so they are just continually living that cycle like, oh, I have evidence, but the evidence is that I don't do what I say I'm going to do. I don't have accountability. I lie to myself. That's my evidence. If you can get people through 2 weeks of new evidence, bro, they're not going to stop.
You've rewritten a condition.
Okay. So somebody comes through this, right? They come through your 6 week challenge. What's your next evolution for that person? Because is it, hey, I want to prove to you, you can change your physical life. You can change your mindset. You can change these things. So maybe it's time for you to start looking at building a business.
Essentially, CIA structures all espionage around a pyramid called the National Security Triangle. And the 3 parts of that pyramid align in everyday life to health, wealth, and relationships. 3 sides of the pyramid. The difference between those 3 elements, those foundations to all of our lives, we all have a health element, we all have a wealth element, we all have a relationships element. The difference between those 3 is how fast you can make a change. It's very hard to make a change to your wealth in a short period of time.
Right.
It's also very hard to make a change to your relationships in a short period of time. But I can literally change your health in less than 24 hours. If I can convince you to do a couple of things before you go to sleep tonight, when you wake up feeling better tomorrow, your life has changed. And you believe it right away.
Yeah.
Right? Once you get them to believe in one pillar, then you're like, hey, you're going to get healthy. You already know you're going to get healthy because we're working on this. The next thing you need to change is your relationships, because relationships supercharge your ability to create wealth.
Right. Or they hold them back.
And relationships, just like you were saying, relationships can be rewritten quickly. They can't be rewritten in 24 hours, but they can be rewritten in 72 hours. If you and I change just a few things that we do with our spouses will believe a change has occurred.
Right.
If we change just a few things with our kids, a few things with our employees, a few things on our podcast, the viewer will literally think a change has occurred. They will believe the change, even if it's an accidental change. So you can transform relationships in a matter of days. You can transform health in a matter of hours. So all we're doing is creating a system of empirical evidence that leads people to the point where when we say, okay, now your health is improving, your relationships are top notch. Let's secure this legacy.
Genius.
And change your wealth.
It's genius because it's exactly what people actually need. It's not manipulation.
Correct.
It's motivation. And so you go through in that 6 week challenge, do you focus only on health, or do you go health, relationships, and then at the end you talk about wealth?
So this is what I mentioned earlier, that there's a process called priming. So we always have to prime, and I'm sure you do it too. You always have to prime people for what's coming next. You can't get people to turn a sharp right after 6 weeks. Instead, what you have to do is tell them every week, a right turn is coming, a right turn is coming, a right turn is coming. And then when you tell them about the right turn, they've already accepted that it's coming.
Right.
Right. So for 6 weeks, we focus 80% on health. And then we make sure that people understand, hey, how are your relationships benefiting from the change in health? How's your relationship with your wife? Are you spending more time with friends? How's work feeling? How are your coworkers? How's conflict? Is conflict still stressing you out, or do you find that conflict doesn't stress you out like it used to because you have more physical resources because of your fitness? Right? So we're priming and priming and priming until it comes to the end of that 6 weeks, and we're like, hey, you feel good, you're sleeping great, you're leaner than stronger than you've ever been. You're ready to take the next step and put that to work in building a better relationship, getting back to being in love with your partner, getting back to feeling sexy when you're at home, getting back to feeling confident when you're out on the single trail, getting back to the place where you're the person in work that everybody notices when you walk in the door, right? helping people to tie in the relationship benefits of a new physical life.
Wow, I love that. Okay, so you guys do that. How do people get there again?
People get there by, if you look up everydayspy.com and you type in SpyFit, SPYFIT, you'll find your way right into our SpyFit program. If you go to everydayspy.com and you sign up anywhere on Everyday Spy, you're also going to be invited to the next SpyFit challenge. So the fastest way to get there is really just go to our website, take the quiz. We were just talking about the free lead gen. Take the quiz, find out what your temperament is, find out what kind of spy you would be, and then boom, you're going to get the invitation to the next SpyFit challenge.
Do you have a new book coming out, or have you recently released one?
So my wife and I's romance novel, our CIA...
Hell yeah, bro. Undercover Babies is the name of it.
Our CIA memoir is called Shadow Cell. It hits the shelves September 9th worldwide. It's being published by Little Brown, which is an imprint of Hachette. So we have a Big Five publisher backing our story, and it's already getting just incredible reviews from literary critics, but also from everyday people. It's been spectacular.
I read that book. What do I get out of it?
When you read Shadow Cell, you're going to understand, first, the most modern, current CIA espionage story ever told. It's less than a decade old, whereas most everything else you read is about Cold War spying or spying during the War on Terror, right? So we wanted the most contemporary, honest, transparent memoir ever written that tells the story of what CIA operations look like right now against America's largest adversary. We can't disclose who that adversary is, so I'm going to have to let your imagination do the work for you. But CIA, 3 years ago when they read this manuscript, CIA deemed our book a classified document from end to end, and it could not be released. It took 3 years of legal fighting and ultimately resulted in the threat of a First Amendment lawsuit before CIA let us release this book.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah. So you're going to find out about how tradecraft works. You're going to find out about how our adversary works. You're going to find out about how CIA actually builds and runs operations. And through it all, it's teaching. Because like I told you, our mission is spy education that breaks barriers. We don't do anything without education. So even though it's a memoir, it's kind of like a sugar-coated pill that also teaches you about how spies approach problems, solve problems, think through priorities, and execute tradecraft.
What's the country we should be the most afraid of?
China.
And followed by who?
There's not even a close second. China is our number one geopolitical, military, and economic threat. If we can neutralize China, we are golden.
How would you do that if you are, let's say, a CIA operation? How would you do that?
The first thing is to cut China off from its source of wealth. And its primary source of wealth right now is actually re-engineering Western technology and selling it as Chinese technology.
Is that a nice way of saying copying our shit?
Yeah, copying our shit. And not just our shit, French shit, British shit, German shit, Polish shit. They just steal everything that works and then recreate it on their own.
At half the cost.
Offer it at half the cost. And what that does is it creates an opportunity for the rest of the world to pick someone else to send their money, including Europe. Even Europe is choosing Chinese electric vehicles over other electric vehicles when Chinese EV technology was just stolen from other countries, right?
And you can't really deal with patent law because you're country to country, right?
Correct.
So there's no way to really govern that, I would say. And there's such a massive, it's a country, but it's really a company. They're a massive operation. And they're so freaking big that they can get so much done so fast. You almost have no ability to keep up with them.
And that's why Donald Trump's tariffs against China made a ton of sense. And they still are making sense because that's what they're designed to do, is cut China off from its wealth. If China can't you've got to think of wealth as limited, right? There's only a limited amount of money in the world. Even with countries printing money, there's still just a limited amount of true capital. So when one country becomes wealthier, that only happens if somebody else is losing it, right?
Right.
So as China gets wealthier, what it's doing is it's taking that wealth from the West and predominantly from the United States. So that's their strategic ambition, is to not ever be in open conflict with anybody until the economic tiles flip. Because one of the reasons the United States is so powerful is economically we're powerful, and we turn that economic engine into a military power source.
Right.
We spend the most, we have the best technology, we have the newest training, or the newest weapons and the best trained troops because we can spend that money. As soon as we lose money, we have to start saving. We can't spend on those things.
Right.
We have to put money into something else. On the flip side, when China has excess capital, then they're going to have the most modern weapons. They're going to have the best trained troops. They're going to have...
And we lose our edge.
And and China has watched how we built our edge from the end of World War II. And then when we focused exclusively on the global war on terror, where was China? Not
building.
Exactly. They were not fighting that war. So we put trillions of dollars into a war on terror that we ultimately lost. And then China took all that time to steal our technology while our back was turned, build a whole new technological base, and then start selling it to the world. The argument that people have is that China's not such a threat because it has all these domestic issues. Oh, it's overpopulated and it's got social welfare issues and blah, blah, blah. No, it doesn't. It's not the United States. It doesn't believe in social welfare. China has already demonstrated with its Cultural Revolution that when it needs to reduce or when it needs to enrich the per capita rate, it just kills millions of people. That's what it does. So if you're looking at China and you're like, oh, the per capita rate right there is like $13,000 per person, where in the US we make, $24,000 per person. Once China lets 1 million people die, 10 million people die, all of a sudden that per capita goes up because it's a small group of people in China making most of the income. The rest are just hangers on.
Yeah, worker bees.
And they don't need them. And China knows that when your job is to create widgets, you need worker bees. But when your job is to create technology, you don't. So all the social welfare that used to be there to protect manufacturing workers is going away. And the future Xi Jinping wants for the country is a future where they are high tech, where they are handling financial products, where they are basically carbon copies of what the United States has been for the last 50 years.
It's scary.
And brilliant. They're the only country doing it. Somehow.
If I were them, I would do the same thing.
Correct.
Right. And I can only feel, they're essentially feeling, hey, we're this massive organization, but these guys are the bully in the playground.
Yeah.
I want to take that bully down. What you're going to do is you're not going to pick a fight with them right now. You're going to play nice and you're going to build up, and behind the scenes, you're going to be going to the gym and you're going to be doing the thing.
Yep.
And you're not going to cause any conflict until you're stronger and more capable than that. So right now, you don't really see China causing issues and poking the bear, because they are trying to get big enough that they can essentially overtake us and have an edge over us, which right now it's here.
Exactly. You can think of it like the playground, where you've got the bully and then you've got the kid that doesn't like the bully. Or you can think of it like business, where you have the leading competitor and then you have all the second and third level competitors. What do? We take market share.
Right.
We take market share knowing that as we steal that market share,
and the best thing you do is they just steal. Like for me, I'm the leading person in the real estate world, at least from a community size. So what people do, all my competitors, they don't create.
Yep.
They steal.
Copy.
And they go, okay, that's working. I'm going to take this. I'm going to take market share. They even will like go to their 4 or 5 buddies and go, let's all try and take and steal from Pace's ideas. So I have to come up with new ideas and be 3 years ahead of them. So while they're working on my ideas that I was working on 3 years ago, I already know, hey, you guys are working on 3 year ago ideas. I'm already on to the next idea. And so you look at like a Trump's America, where Trump is trying to push forward and actually create things and go and get, foreign investments into our country and better alignment with foreign affairs, all of those types of things. You see, he's doing a good job from that perspective. Otherwise, China's going to be just stealing all the stuff that we were doing 10 years ago.
Right. And unfortunately, we are in a political cycle right now where China understands that a competitive, combative president that's going to aggressively move is a temporary president. And then shortly after that, we're going to get a placated, passive president that comes in, and then they'll take their action. So
doesn't that suck, dude?
It sucks big time. And that's why I'm not optimistic about the next 12 to 20 years for the United States.
Oh my gosh, that's so scary to think about. I thought about it too. It's like you feel the forward momentum from the business standpoint. I mean, even the big, beautiful tax bill that helps me as an investor, tax depreciation and all the beautiful things it gives me. I look at that and go, this is great. It's great for people that are producing jobs. I've got 300 plus employees. It's great for me. But what will happen is the other side of our political bipolar world, they're going to push so hard against the Trump world, and they're going to create whatever they got to create so they can take that back over. And we're going to go back to the placated little sissy person that's not really doing anything, not creating anything. And that's when China is going to have another surge of momentum. Yeah.
We have to remember that the United States became the world's largest superpower, not by being friends with anybody. It became the world's largest superpower by telling everybody what to do and stepping on toes every step of the way. We rebuilt Germany. We rebuilt France. We rebuilt the UK. We rebuilt Japan. We took advantage of a war-torn world and we forced our debt on them, and we forced our currency on them, and we forced trade on them. And as a result of that, the whole world grew stronger and wealthier, with the United States leading the way. That wasn't us being nice.
Right.
That was us twisting and manipulating. Where we could motivate, we motivated, because motivating is always cheaper than manipulating. But where somebody couldn't be motivated because they had a strongman dictator, or because they had some sort of tribalism, or because they had whatever else, we just went in and we took it away from them. And we forced them to bend to our will. Was that fair? Nope. Was it nice? Nope. Was it diplomatic? No. Even what we call diplomacy isn't really fair. It's us putting pressure on people to do what they are supposed to do that benefits us. We're not a fair country. We need to stop kind of chasing our own tail. When we get a politician in office that thinks that we're actually fair, like, that's a bad thing. We have to understand that our advantage comes from our leverage. Our diplomatic leverage is tied to our economic leverage. Our military leverage is tied to our economic leverage. If you're not valuing what our true arsenal is, then we're not going to the fight.